When I was opening this and I had said there's 4 brackets, 2 sets, we have to flash our RR module to get to the instruction manual to find out which brackets we need, 1 or 2, for this install. You're gonna need the serial number of the radio, the make, year, and model of the car. On the side of the box, if you don't feel like opening it, is a USB input. Download the software to your computer, create an account, and log in. We want the green box here at the bottom. Select flash by vehicle, year, make, model. On the model there'll be choices. In this case we have the 8-inch screen with amplifier and without amplifier. Even though we're going to be bypassing the factory amplifier, select with amplifier. Choose the steering wheel that is in your car. Zoom in to see features that it has. In our case, it's this bottom one here. Choose the radio manufacturer that you have. Type in the model number and your serial number. There's usually only one recommended firmware. It's going to ask you what accessories you'd like to use with your radio. In this case, we will be using the MFT1 kit. It'll give you the part numbers for other things that are in the vehicle that you may want to retain. Select how you want to configure your system. In this case, we can shut off the factory amplifier now. Everything else here seems appropriate. Scan over your steering wheel controls. If there's any you'd like to change, you can. I am not a big fan of attenuation when holding the volume down. I don't want it to mute, only because we've had plenty of customers complain about that feature. When scrolling down, we have the eject button that we can reprogram if we'd like. Scan over this last page to make sure everything is exactly how you want it to be. If so, select flash. And that's pretty much it for the flashing software. Once done, if iData has done the installation for you, they'll have a video. These are really nice to watch even if your car isn't shown, because it'll give you their thought process behind how the kit is supposed to be assembled. For us, we're going to select download installation guide. You have to scroll down until you find your vehicle. Once you've located your car, in this case 2015 and 19 Ford Mustang with my Ford Touch in the shaker amp, scroll down. It'll show you how to disassemble the dash, what area of the dash you need to cut, and then right in the middle of the page, located right here in this dark area, it says unbox MFT1 dash kit and locate bracket set number 2, discard set number 1. That's what we've been looking for. If we can continue down the page, it'll show us how to assemble it, as well as the wire colorings we're going to need, and if we need to do any extra work. The nice thing about this is it shows you what every color of wire does, which I will talk about once we get to that, because it's an Alpine, and Alpine does do things a little bit differently than everyone else. Let's build this kit. We're gonna need the plastic bezels, the dash kit screw bags, as well as the Alpine radio screw bags. Bezel number 2, which it says here on the side. This says L2, R2. These we don't need. We need this bracket here and the one on the opposite side. It has 2 torque screws holding it in place. And to make things difficult, they are really small. They use a T8. Once those brackets are removed, set the screen someplace safe. You don't need it anymore. Grab the left hand iData bracket and the left, which has a little L on it. Set them on top of one another, screw it together. Once the brackets have been added on, grab the big bezel, and it has clips on the top and bottom of it, and it actually says top. These little nipples here go on the bottom, snap into place. As you can see now, it's nice because it holds it all together nice and tight. And this is what's going to allow you to line up the screen into this. If you're doing a regular double din, you'll know when to stop. You're going to be pushing it as far forward as possible because that dash is definitely tight. And then this, because we're using a single din, will either go on the top or the bottom. In this case, thinking it is going to go on to top because we want to have the most adjustment for this screen. But before we do that, I like to get my radio attached so I know what depth it needs to be at. Most radios come with 2 types of screws, one with a V bottom and one with a flat bottom. This one requires the flat bottom. I like to get one side in loose, spin it over, get the other side in, that way I can line it all up and then tighten it. Make sure that everything looks good. I'm gonna pop this front panel off, I'll add the screws to this, and this guy will be all set. We can't attach the screen until this is done, but join me in the car because I wanna test fit this and make sure I have enough depth. Fingers crossed. Yeah, it's very close. This harness here is in the way, but it's a harness, so we could probably move it. This metal brace back here is causing us some issues. I'm thinking it's going to have to come out. Our radio does go in, and if I put my hand behind here, I have some room. Not much. I don't know if all the cables are going to fit. Fortunately, because it is the Alpine and it does have the wired harnesses, we're good there, and I think the USB and the HDMI will be recessed enough to not be a problem. I'm going to have to go check those. But that metal brace here, more than likely going to cut or damage some of the wiring we're going to put in here. We'll use the same RotoZip tool to remove that, and that'll free up all this area in the dash in order for us to put the wiring in and take advantage of all this space here behind it. One of the nice things about using this style cutter is because this blade is nice and flat, you can really push it up against the sides and make nice clean cuts, so you don't have to worry about sharp metal in the dash poking into anything. Now we're free, we have all the room that we need for our new floating screen radio. Yeah, the HDMI should clear. USB is good also. All right, we're safe. And these come out of the bottom here, so they're gonna immediately go down. That bar would have caused us lots of issues. The last thing I wanna do to this before I call this done is this is gonna have a big heavy screen hanging off of it. We only have these 1 screw points here and here. That's not gonna be enough to hold all that weight. I'm going to take some back strap and make a second bracket that comes from this hole back here up to here, so I can have 2 points of contact and this screen won't flop around. Much better. That'll hold this thing nice and tight in the dash. So we'll move on to the wiring harness now that the dash kit is all built. And the first thing I do on an iData harness is remove all the tape. You don't have to do that, but I like to do that. I like to remove wires that I'm not gonna need, and I like to reroute the wires to the way I like them run. To depin, we use this depinning tool here, which you can find on DNF tool drawer. We also use a razor knife. On the iData, it has these cool little silver things here that you can just push in with a razor knife to remove any of the wiring you don't need. And the reason for that is in some cases there's just extra stuff that you're not going to need for this particular installation. On the Ford, there's little tiny holes that are right above the pins. Stick the tool in and push, and the wire will come out. This allows you, if you need to, you can repin the wire back in if you accidentally get the wrong one, because there's just a tab that it's pushing down. Sometimes there'll be wiring that you don't need just because it's a different style car harness, meaning it's the same harness but different configs. I like to plug my harnesses into the car first and find out if there's wiring that I don't need. Can I remove it? A lot of the times, like Toyotas and stuff like that, you'll find that be the case. To me, it just makes a prettier harness. When you're not retaining the factory amplifier in the vehicle, make sure to cut off these RCAs. Don't plug them in. There's no power coming out of the RCAs that'll power speakers. These also are really nice to save. If you're going to be doing any other work in different cars, you may need some RCA ends. Looking in the car, this harness, the only thing it has on it is this blue-yellow wire. There's nothing pinned on the other side of this. That means I don't need to even plug this harness into the car because the one wire it has, it doesn't go to anything in the car. However, that now leaves this end exposed. What I like to do then is push this down, remove it, put some shrink wrap over it, and then plug it back into place. When pushed back in, give it a little tug, make sure it doesn't move. Harness is all pre-prepped, ready to start the next process, which is the insulation portion of it. For that, I like to use exterior Testa tape. When wrapping, go from the plug side into the harness. The reason for that is you don't want to end here, because if it starts to unravel, it just becomes gooey. When they're all in the spot here, we're going to put one final wrap of tape on it to seal everything up. I also like to wrap them in their individual harnesses. I also try to unravel the harness as much as possible. I don't like wires that are all like doing this. That's kind of irritating. Sometimes I'll even depin those wires, straighten them back out, and repin them back in place. Once we get them all to a central hub here in the center, there again, kind of unravel them. With this one, we are gonna go this way with it, and we're gonna put a piece of shrink wrap here at the end to seal it. It just makes it easier to keep all these wires nice and tight. The little T here, I switched to interior Testa tape. It's a little bit more flexible, which is what I need at this point. Apply some of that to this, finishing off this intersection. I kind of treat this like a boxer would his fingers when, you know, they're getting taped up. I go between all the wiring, and it makes it a really nice flexible tape joint. I always have little pieces of leftover heat shrink that are too long, so I save those in a bin, put it over this tape seam, and that just finishes off that wrap. Cut these to length, and I have my harness ready. Another thing I do is I strip off the interior tested tape from the camera harness, because I know it's going to get really sticky in about a month here in Florida, and I retape it with the exterior. This kit is made to also work with an RR2. That's what this plug is for. I bundle that up in case they ever decide to switch out to that. It's easy enough to get to that harness. This one's all set. The iData RR cable harness, tape up the exposed wires, leave the flag easy to see, and that leaves us the RR in the box left to deal with. Obviously we need the RR, and there's two cables in here that we need. One is the 4-pin data connection, which is the light blue, white, black, and red cable, and the second one is the 3-pin red, white, black to 1/8 inch, not to be confused with the 4-pin with the blue end on it. This is for standalone RR use. Steering wheel controls, we're done with all of that. Once I unbox these out, the first thing I like to do is plug them in. I don't need them right away, however I don't want to lose them. In this case, plug the Alpine pigtail in also so it doesn't get lost. The next harness I'm going to address is the RCA harness. I pull all the little rubber pieces to their ends, line up the RCA so that they're stacked flat on top of one another, and I zip tie them together. Make sure when cutting your zip ties, use a flush cutter so you don't hurt yourself later when you reach into the dash for whatever reason. Cutting it on a zip tie really sucks. Once the RCAs are all lined up by themselves, I move to the other side and do the backup camera, the remote extension wire, and the aux jack. For this, I can plug my backup camera into the main harness so those harnesses are connected and they won't get lost anywhere. That moves us to the Alpine harness, and as I've been hinting to, things are a little bit different about an Alpine than, well, everybody else. You'll notice it comes with these really long orange, white, and yellow, blue. Typically orange, white is going to be illumination or dimmer wire. On an Alpine, that is controlled via a photo strobe or a light sensor built into the screen. It does not work with your dash knob. On an Alpine, the orange, white wire on a video screen that has a backup camera, this orange white is going to be your reverse trigger wire. In most cases that's going to be a purple white wire, and if you look at the iData end, the purple white wire is the reverse wire. It also does have an orange output. That is illumination. We'll be capping that off and not using it. The yellow blue wire is the emergency brake wire. That's the wire that needs to be on, off, on when you want to access the radio functionality. On most radios it is a light green wire, and on the iData it is also light green. If you're going to be using that feature, make sure you hook up this yellow blue to light green. Alpine also has a blue and a blue with a white stripe. The blue is going to be for your amplified antenna turn on, and the blue white is going to be to turn on your amplifier or the remote turn on output. Don't get those two confused. However, it's not like the old school radios where when you switched from FM over to something else it would shut off the blue white. It's just how powerful the circuit is in the radio. Black, which is ground, red, which is accessory, and yellow is constant 12 volts. And then the speaker wires, white is driver's front, gray is passenger front, green is driver's rear, and purple is passenger rear. Solids are positive, stripes are negative. Match those up to your harness, you'll be all set. I'm going to get these soldered up and we'll take a look at the harness once it's all done. With a few zip ties, solder, and heat shrink, this is what we end up with. On this end we have our RR. As it moves along, the backup camera retention input as well as the main power plug for the radio. Those wires move along here into our iData connection that goes to the back of the radio. The main RCAs. I've hooked in the backup camera as well as the aux input coming from the RR. Our main harness is over here, and then this pigtail coming off is for future use as well as the remote turn on. On here is an accessory constant 12 volts and ground that we can plug into if need be, as well as the remote turn on. So this harness is all set and ready to go into the car.